What's up, everybody? We are back in action. If you guys saw the multitasking that I do behind the scenes, you wouldn't believe it here because we are the show producer, the host, and technology master, I would say. I think Zach's joining us as well. What's up? So, guys, tonight, going to be talking about a little bit of hunting and fishing, as we love to talk about, because this podcast is about what? Sales and marketing. And if we're not continuous to learning, you're going to get left behind. And it's go time. Winter is coming, and winter is now here. So, that being said, let me welcome my co host to the show, Craig Lack. What's up, my friend?
Hola, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's make this interactive tonight. I know some of you people have dipped a bobber or two, so interact.
Yeah, Paul Siegert says he's first to the show today. Show sponsor, none other than Achieve Health Alliance. Guys, check it out. So we got a webinar coming up about a week from next Thursday. How to win and retain self-funded business with ease using Achieve Health Alliance. We're going to go into how we help you guys, what's been successful for our advisors, how they've been winning business, what process we're using to help them win business, what we've been using to help them retain business, the renewal process, and taking things out of your hand, putting it on us on an aggregate level, keeping employers engaged, educating employers, educating you guys on sales, marketing, and the programs, having a lot of success. So we're going to cover it on how we can help you in this upcoming fourth quarter, and it's going to be fun. So make sure you register. Link is below, and September 17th, and I will now pass it over to you, Craig. What do you say?
Yeah.
Tell us about that vacation.
Yeah, hey, High Sierras, June Lake, Mammoth Mountains. For those of you not familiar with the California landscape, went up there with the kids and their wives and, relived old moments. We've been going up there since the kids were born and have a lot of memories there. It's a real cool spot. Eating, drinking, playing games, chilling, hiking, little fishing.
Drinking beer. Hey, Zach, looking handsome. You want to back up off that mic there, my friend? I always love going a little fishing. I was a big fisher, trout fishing.
Yeah.
And a lot of fun. It's just like hunting and fishing, anything like prospects in this business. We all live for that thrill, the high of the close. And there's nothing like catching that fish. But
exactly.
You got to use the right bait. Sometimes I would, just thinking about it, my uncle would go with me. So call him my mentor. The guy would come with a vested up, okay? He had a trout one. Or one for stream fishing.
Sure.
One for the lake and one for he went to the ocean. So obviously everything had different types of baits. And
yep.
I thought I could just go and pull out my bass lure that we would use on the lake. Growing up, we had a little boat down the street at the lake. We left our boat there by somebody's house. They got a free boat, and we got a place to put it. And I thought, hey, I'm going to go fishing with these bass lures, and I'm fishing, and my uncle comes over and goes, what in the hell are you doing? You can't catch trout with a bass lure. The goddamn lure is bigger than a fish, but I had no idea, right? And that's where the mentors come into place. But
yeah, it's a great analogy for sales and marketing. So you just touched on it, right? There's stream fishing, lake fishing, ocean fishing. They all require different tools. So look at it this way. Look, I brought in a little fishing net. See? Now, if you use a net this size, you're going to catch small groups. If you're going to go after middle market and large groups, you better bring a bigger net. And when you go ocean fishing, hell, they harpoon the darn things while they're in the water and flip them up into the boat. So, it's back to one of the bullet points we talked about was where preparation meets opportunity, right? To the people who think that life happens to them, they call it luck. To the people who know that they make their life happen, they call it hard work. The only place that success comes before, work is in the dictionary. It ain't in real life, pal. So fishing, awesome choice. right? You wanted to go fishing, right? I brought some examples to show you on how if you go fishing and you got a hook this big, okay, you're going to have to go after different size fish because a small fish can't bite on this. A small fish may not go for self-funding, right? It's a big self-funded hook. Now, all this little stuff, right? Oh, we're going to put them on the training wheels, self-funded with training wheels, right? We're going to sell them level premium, right? Look at that sucker. It's got 3 hooks to it, and it's small, so small mouths can bite it. That's what you got to be prepared for. So if you don't bring the right marketing, the right sales, the right vernacular, the right stories, the right examples, the right messaging, then it's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. It's not going to end well for you. What do you say, John?
I think, we're coming into the fourth quarter, and I can't tell you how much I'm back reading again, and I'm not even selling retail that much anymore, but I did have a nice call where I got a referral into a 2,000 life group over the phone that, in all honesty, it was very early in the morning, and I said, I'm not getting out of bed for this shit anymore. And I said, I got it down enough that I'm going to do this in bed. So I sat in bed for the kick of it. I was leaning up, but I sat in bed just to do the call because it's that easy when you're practicing and you're good at it. We were fortunate enough to go out, shout out to Jeff Seeley, who we're going to have on here, to the Horton Group last week, and we talked about some of the sales strategies and the scripting and stuff like that. Now, I did have my script with me. I did have my ledge, right? My cheat sheet, as I call it, information about the group, about the prospect, about what I know or somebody's told me about them. And I utilized it to a T, and I just got them talking right out the gate. So what was the bait that I gave them in the beginning? Well, we're going off the top here. It's going to be fun. What was the bait that I used? Well, I used the great bait of what's everybody's favorite topic? Well, everybody's favorite topic is one thing and one thing only, talking about themselves.
Me.
And I knew that he went back at some time with the person that had gave me the referral, and I just said, oh, you friends with him? Oh, lucky you. And I made a comment about that person and kind of a little joke, and well, tell me about your background with him. I mean, how did you guys meet and this, that, and the other? And he just went on and on and on, and it was great. He took the bait right away. And now what that does for us really is it just gets them talking. It gets them in a comfortable position. I'll say this. This was something that I read, and it's interesting. They did a study on people that were flying about how was the flight, right? So they put the person next to somebody else, right? And they did 2 things. The first person came and sat next to the person, and they talked the whole time, and they were talking about themselves. And then the second person that they tested, they had the person sit next to them and ask questions about the person they were sitting next to. And the guy that got stuck next to the blabbermouth talking about him said it was a horrible flight. It was just a horrible flight. Sometimes these flights stink. That just wasn't a good flight. And the other guy, they said, how was your flight? He goes, it was amazing. It was so fast. It was just great. It was a really enjoyable flight, and I was there before I knew it. The point of the story is he got to talk about himself the whole time. It was great. Everybody knows when they get to talk to friends on the phone and they let you talk about themselves the whole time, you like your friend a lot better. What do you think?
I had a guy, there was 4 people on a call today, and he was skilled. So this isn't my normal background. I mix up what I put in my background based on whatever movie I've executive produced or what have you. And he asked, "Hey, what's that jersey behind you? Hey, what's that poster?" And I thought, that's a really easy engagement to start a conversation out. And it turned out we talked for probably amongst the 5 of us for a good 10 or 15 minutes before we even got down to business. And we knew so many of the same people, and it was actually pretty funny. Matter of fact, it was a lead from Paul Siegert, who's now on the call. And it turned out that this prospect, we knew all the same people. So it's a really small world, easy conversation starters. That's what I say. Use it.
Yeah, we're trying to get him to pick up the bait. So
Clickbait.
let's welcome Zach to the show. What's up, Zach? You're
Uh,
let me unmute you. Sorry, go ahead. Your mic's not working. You're getting booted off. So figure out your mic.
Zackalicious.
Don't show up late to the show, and your mic will work. So that being said, where was I? On taking a bait. So let's talk about this. He's talking about himself, and I asked him some of the things that he did prior, already knowing in my head some of those things they were, but he definitely took the bait right out the gate. And it's just a way, it's not even of marketing. This is just on the sales call. The first call is, how do we get them talking? I watched one or two. Guys, if you want us to help and critique and give you some ideas, we're willing to look at some of your Zoom calls if you record them and send them to us. I watched one or two for some gentlemen this week, and the problem is they weren't talking. It was just yesterday. I was on a call where I was bringing in one of my partners, and I was texting them. I'm like, you have to get them talking. They haven't said anything yet. It's 8 minutes in. You have to get them talking and pull them in, or you're going to lose them right out the gate, because most of you know we're talking on Zoom, we're selling over Zoom, and how easy is it to get your attention pulled in another direction or an email? Sometimes you hear, Craig, right? You hear somebody go, you start hearing people type in the background. They forget to mute themselves, right? And it's just,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've lost them. Is that not? You got to pay attention to that.
Exactly. It's those little things that matter. When they're not showing their screen, you got to ask them to show the screen. When you're fishing and you've got a hook, fish are really smart, and they're as strong as you can't even imagine how strong they are in the water. So when most of the time you catch them, you lip them. And if you let any slack come into the line, they can feel that the tension and the friction's gone, and they'll start wiggling around like crazy, and that hook will come right out. So, how important do you think it is to sharpen the hook before you go out? Because it's like, hey, man, it's been 3 years. You just break it out, and you show up. You don't prepare. And what happens? You lose the fish. Sales is the same way, right? If you didn't do your preparation, if you don't know something about the company, you go, well, what do you guys do? You're dead.
Yeah, we were talking to John Bradley. Shout out to John Bradley, Jimmy Taylor today, and they're prepping for a call. And we talked about they were using a big box and they're interviewing somebody else, and what they had mentioned on the last call is like, yeah, we've used the big box. It doesn't seem to be working well. The first thing I said was, remind them that they told you that, because your competition now is another big agency, and you might want to remind them out the gate. Full disclosure, Bob, I just want to let you know I'm not part of the ABC house, the big firms. I'm not going to tell you how many employees we have. I'm not going to tell you how many offices. I'm not going to tell you how deep our relationships and how much premium we have with our carriers and how we can negotiate on your ability, because that's a story they're all telling. And yet, Craig, what's that line you use? I checked your 5,500. What'd you find?
Yeah. Every 3 years, you bounce around from one guy to the next, because it takes you 3 years to figure out that all the promises they made, they can't actually deliver, and you lost money every year. And so you go, oh, well, we'll try the next one. And here we are. Do you want to be a little tiny fish in a giant ocean where the A team doesn't work on your case? The B team doesn't work on your case. Hell, the C team doesn't work on your case. You're 200 lives. You got the D team, right? These cats were selling payroll last week, or maybe a month ago, changing your tires, and now they're a consultant for a big national firm. That's who you get. Now, if you work with us, you're going to be a big fish in a little tiny pond, and you're going to get partner level attention every day, every time. And so, that's just a story that you tell to differentiate. You don't ever want to compete against the big boys and the big girls in the ocean unless you're really super prepared, right?
Well, you always talk about you don't want to compete on
their level,
on their terms. And
exactly.
I see a lot of guys talking online and what they can do in this and that. Guys, just a shout out to some of you, or I should say a little slap. Stop ranting on LinkedIn about your solutions and your playbook and this and jargon, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody listens. Your prospects doesn't understand it. If the information you're putting out is just free, just like that in a post, it's skeptical, right? It's skeptical. It's like what we talked about today, Craig. Is less is more. I have this conversation a lot because I made the mistakes of telling how great the shiny objects and products were, and it's Craig could go through a whole call and never tell him what Syra does. Never. And I'm sitting there waiting, all excited because I teed up the call, and I'm like, wow, when's he going to tell it? And it's get off the call. He didn't even actually tell him what he did because he realized it wasn't necessary. There was enough pain. You told him there was a solution to the pain. He agreed with it, and he wants to take the next step forward to a consulting agreement. Well, we didn't actually have to go into the detail of how the product works, right?
Yeah.
The bait is when we have that funnel of questions that we go through. He has some pain. There's something that he mentions, and I love when they go, "Oh, how do you do that?" And you fall for the trap. And the reality is, you just talk about that one single thing, what your solution does for that, but then you shut up because
You made a great. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
Yeah. You bring up a great point, right? I hear a lot of rookies, right? They want to show everybody how smart they are, so they bring up objections that nobody actually asked anything about. It's like when you're fishing. Okay, if you've ever gone lake fishing and you're dragging that lure around and it's 200 feet behind the boat. And what you'll find a lot of times when you're fishing, depending on where the sun's at, what time of the day it is, you'll only get a bite, a nibble, a strike, catch a fish going one direction. For whatever reason, the way it reflects off of the lure in the water, the fish see it only one direction. And so you can waste your time continuing all day to go back and forth, knowing that every time you only catch it going one direction, you're just not paying attention. It's like bringing up, I hear guys going, oh yeah, and if you were thinking about this, and they bring up objections that nobody asked about. It's unbelievable.
That's
so
the best. That's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, because they want to be so smart.
You could debunk objections that you know are going to come up, but you don't bring up objections just out of the gate. It's kind of like we're baiting the hook here, right? So you're trying to catch this fish, and I look at it, and we talk about it in poker or sales is like, don't give them any reason to say no. And when you pitch a product specifically, I had a conversation today with an advisor said they're going to talk about, I think, international pharmacy. I said, don't even mention that, because what's going to happen when you tell them and they go ask their broker, they're going to easily be able to debunk it and say no. If you talk about the destination of what your solution does versus the transportation, it's hard for them to say no because they've said what they wanted. You're giving them the destination. If you talk about the in-between, it's an easy way to say no. You're trying to catch this fish. You don't want to bait the hook and have the hook hanging out. You want to bait the hook and bury the hook, okay? But if the hook's hanging out, the fish ain't going to bite. And what you guys are doing, you're leaving the hook hanging out going, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. And they outsmart you. They see it. The fish see it.
Yep. It's so your fishing analogy is, hey, if you fish for worms, right? When you put a worm on the hook, you actually, and I didn't bring a worm, but you'll get the idea. I'll show you. When you put the worm on the hook, you do leave and expose the tip of this hook. So the worm, you literally feed the worm on, and you feed that sucker on here like this, and then you rip it. And so the worm's hanging out right here like this, because the way the fish feed on a worm is different than, say, when you get you get some Potskie's balls of fire salmon eggs, right? And you've got to put the eggs on the hooks. You got to hide the hook because the way they feed on eggs is different. They don't want to see the hook because hooks that doesn't happen when they're really eating roe that's floating down the stream. And so again, you make the point, it's analogous for fishing in so many ways. Everything matters, guys and gals. I mean, you've got to prepare according to where you're going to fish. That was another bullet point, right, John? Are we ready to go to fish where the fish are?
Well, before I go that, I'm going to show you how to bait a hook. I mean, come here. When I tried to bait the hook to catch her,
Ah!
I used Stella. She's got a French bulldog. Okay, say hello. Goodbye. I used the dog. She likes French bulldogs. That's how I baited my hook. Okay?
Yes.
Know your
Good point.
prospect. Know your prospect. I just talked about our dogs. Hey, you got a French bulldog? Me too. Isn't that interesting? Go to where
Yeah.
the fish are. Hey,
Exactly.
where did I find her? She was at the dog park. She was at the gym. That's where they live. That's where some of the women are. So that's where I looked.
Yeah. John's the only guy at the gym. He's not actually working out. He just moves from machine to machine.
The only guy at the gym not working. Well, I asked her
Yeah.
if she could show me how to adjust my seat. And then I ended up not working out that day, but
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Hi, Brooke. Yeah, brook trout. That's really fun to fish for. Those are naturally occurring, non-stocked fish. You find them usually high up in the altitudes in the lakes, right?
Brook fishing, that's what I always did. That's where we fish.
Yeah, baby. When you go deep sea fishing, see, it's totally different depending on what you're doing, right? So you got the guys who lake fish, right? And have you ever seen the guys? You know what the most important thing for some of the lake fishermen, they usually fish from the shore. The most important thing that they bring is beer. Okay. They're sitting in a lawn chair and the pole is propped up on the beach in a little holder. And they might even have a bell tied on to attached to the line, the monofilament line, right? And when they've got a bobber floating out in the water out there, and when the bobber bobs, it pulls on the line and it makes the bell ring, and they get up off their fat ass, they set their beer down, and then they go grab the fish, right? So, Hey, there's a different flavor for everybody.
Hey, is my camera's coming in blurry? We're going to switch up my camera here for you guys. See that? Backup camera. Nobody on the show told me the camera wasn't working well.
Nice.
But I'll fix it. Here we go.
We'll put Brooke Trout back on now that we can see her.
Yeah, I think Brooke broke down the camera. Nobody told me the camera. How's the camera look now, guys? Was it blurry? We're going to fix it here. Here we go.
Better.
All right. Yeah, I want to go where the fish are. Gary tells me CFOs are on LinkedIn, but they're very behind the scenes. And if you want to bait the hook, you're not going to be writing about healthcare. Guys, think of it this way. Good marketing firms, when I download everything, I read, I study everything. Whenever I see, this is an easy one. 3 things CFOs should do right now. 5 things CFOs should do right now. Everybody loves them. Oh, I only have to read 3 things. Okay? And number 1, number 2, number 1, 2, 3, 4 would always be about them and their world. And number 5 is about what? What we do, healthcare. Okay? That's how you slip it in there. Like Craig says, read certain industry magazines, so on and so forth. Find out what's going on. Put a little piece together and put 5 things CFOs should know right now. That is, you're baiting the hook. It's called a lead magnet. You ever hear of that? Lead magnet in marketing. So what is that? Some of the things we've used in the past for you guys is a free download. Everybody wants to know. A lot of people ask me for my script, and I don't give it to anybody because I don't want to give that away for free. But we can tweak and pull some things out of there and use it. Hey, 3 reasons to do this. 3 questions to ask a CFO. That's a good one. Maybe we'll put some of those out. Make a note, Margo. Let's put out some lead magnets for the 4th quarter here. We got to get things going. Hey, yeah. I didn't say hello to everybody in the show here yet. Paul, Felipe, Nick, Margo, Mark, Jess, Paul and Jess down in San Diego, Mark Fox, Mark Wilson, Spencer, Nick. All right. We got about 20-something people on the live. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure you check out the Facebook Live every Thursday. Tonight we are not on YouTube, but normally we are.
Tell me what your favorite fish is. Small group, mid group, large group. Yeah, hey, it's fun, right? I told John, we just got a nice chip shot yesterday. Got confirmation that a world famous newspaper signing up, which is cool. It'll be a nice logo for the Midwest central part of the country.
And what would you say? What size group is that? Mid-size group?
We weren't fishing. We weren't fishing with one of these. No. This is a couple 100-man group. This was a 4,500-man group.
Right. So Mark Fox says my target's 100 to 1,000.
Target rich, baby. Middle market.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I even love 50 to 100. 100 plus makes it easier. But I think that it's very underserved anywhere from 50 or 100 to that 300 mark. I think you got to go with alternative funding strategies for sure because they're not doing it. They don't know how to do it. So the group buying pitch, some of the things that Zach does at Achieve, and he helps you advisors with and does the calls, and we set the hook with is we provide, and we're going to talk about this on the webinars, providing Fortune 500 benefits to mid-sized employers. That's our goal, and we have the proven solutions. We've created it. We've got the packages, so on and so forth. We got the history. We got the group of employers, case studies. Everybody's doing it. Jump in, and that's one of the hooks or the baits that you're going to use on these groups of that size. If you're going to go after bigger groups, Pat Moore, we talked today. Pat wants to go after 5,000 life groups, and you're going to target them a different way. They have advisors for that manage benefits. They have advisors that do different pieces to the benefits. So you may want to go in for one solution. I will tell you, I would always go in the consulting role because it's easy to say no to a solution. But if I can tell them I can solve their problems and they want to say yes to that with no frisk and no barrier to entry, nobody gets fired, no changes, and they can find about my solutions later. And if they choose to do them now or in 12 months, fine. Like yesterday, I was on a call, and we signed a consulting agreement over 18 months ago. They did do Syra, but now they're looking at other things. So it may take some time. I'm actually going to get an email out to them tomorrow to extend my contract. Hey, it's up. I did my job. Let's look at next. Let's look at implementation. You saw what I brought to the table. I want to continue on. Do you see the value? So, again, that was not to fire their advisor or help with benefits management. No, that's what they paid them to do, and they were happy with that. They were not happy with the fact that their cancer claims were out of control. So when I baited my hook, it had to be around exactly what they wanted. And again, we go back to this: sharpen your skills, sharpen our skills. It's all done in the questioning. It's all done up front in the questioning. If you're not doing it in the questioning, you're losing out. We had another call with advisor today, prepping for another call. But some of those questions weren't asked up front, so it's hard to build a story or what we want to talk about in that next call because the proper questions weren't done up front. I mean, Craig, how do we know which angle we're going if we don't know where the pain is? How do I bait the hook if I don't know where the stream is with all the fish in? It's hard to do that.
It is, and so one of the things you mentioned, right, that's always stuck with me. The easy analogies, the classic CPA analogy. Most CPAs are historians. Very few are tax planners. Most health insurance brokers, advisors, or consultants are healthcare managers. The focus, emphasis, and sales pitch is on compliance, administration, and process control because their buyer, the human resource execs, are tuned in to those stations. And so if you want to talk to someone else at the company, you have to have a different conversation. We've covered that many times, but you could be unconventional to human resources and ask questions that give them more social proof that you understand the nuances and the insights. It's like sharpening the hook before you go. It's like I show up, I haven't been to June Lake in 4 years, and I go into the tackle shop and I do the conventional broker thing. Hey, which lure should I buy? What pound test should I use? Where exactly are the fish? As if somebody knows. If they knew, it wouldn't be called fishing if everybody knew where the fish were, right? Whereas you could sound unconventional and go, hey, gosh, it's been a few years. I've been coming here for 25 years. It's really amazing. We love how it doesn't change. So can you share with me what color's popular with the fish? What time of day are you finding to be most successful for fishing, right? Don't ask them the stupid, obvious features and benefits, right? The equivalent for HR is compliance, process, administration. Everybody talks about that. So, how about you talk about? I think we used the example today, John, RBP, and you're a national firm. Have you considered in this RFP process or wherever, what kind of conversation you have, have you considered the challenges involved in rolling out RBP, knowing that it's a local and regional market? Wait for the answer. Have you considered how challenging it might be in certain parts of the country where they have the names of all of the RBP vendors posted at the hospital and says, if you come in with this, you get nothing? Have you considered the ease of rollout? Have you considered the disruption? Have you considered the impact of the noise of employees finding it challenging and difficult to use because they don't want to call a concierge nurse when the doctor that they've seen for 23 years tells them, I want you to go to this facility, this lab, this x-ray, this MRI, and you have the nerve to tell me I can't, and I have to go to this thing I've never heard of at Green Imaging? Those are real life questions where you sound different, pointing out the not so obvious consequences of them potentially saying, yeah, yes is easy to say. Hard to deal with the fallout and the disruption and the administrative load and the lack of control and the judgment by the employees and the noise, et cetera, et cetera. See, that's a different conversation than features and benefits. And here's how we compare to ELAP. And here's how we compare to right? You have to be different. All those things matter.
I think, too, you mentioned, telling them where to go, this, that, and the other, and I made that mistake. I used to say, hey, we're going to tell them where to go if they know where to go, like Amazon. What I do to pre-frame it now, to trap them, as Craig would say, is talk to me about right now how when your members need to find a provider or need a surgery, how they access care. Talk to me about that. Right? So now they're going to tell you how they do it, so they're already doing it. Well, what if we provide a solution that when they access care that way, that they had an opinion on who was the highest quality provider, and it was based on cost? Well, I don't want to tell. They can't give you the objection anymore if I don't want to tell people where they have to go, because they already told you that their members are doing it, they're accessing care that way. So I really am just pre-framing it correctly. I think if you look at a guy like great boxer, Floyd Mayweather, counter-punching. So that's maybe what we're going to call this, counter-selling. I'm writing that down. Counter-selling, we're going to write an article on that. It's based on everything they do, right? We're counter-punching them on what they tell us. Floyd Mayweather, you arguably the best boxer ever. I don't think he is. I think he's one of the best. He's never lost.
Smart.
But smart. I mean, even the other day I was watching him face Sugar Shane Mosley, who was my favorite boxer growing up, and he fought him out of his prime. I would have loved to have seen him fight in a prime because Sugar Shane was just unbelievable speed. But what he did is he just counterpunched him the whole time. He let him tire himself out. If you watch the McGregor fight, go ahead, let you think you're winning, tire yourself out, and then he breaks out his speed when you can't stop the speed anymore. So think of it from a questions is you're taking all their punches being their problems, and we're just going to counter-sell them instead of what some of the aggressive boxers do, because we're not going in for a knockout. You're probably not going to have a knockout. You could try to go in like Mike Tyson, who decimates you in the first 30 seconds, comes out swinging. And that's what we do as most advisors. We come out swinging, and what is our punches, Craig? Our solutions. Yep. We think these solutions are so great, and we're going to knock them out. What else are we doing, Craig? We're trying to knock the competition out and badmouth the broker. Biggest fault I made my whole career. Sure, a lot of you agree. You could say yes, that you've done it. But the reality is it doesn't work in our business. It may work in boxing, but, hey, if you don't knock them out in those fights, you're going to get winded, and Floyd Mayweather's just going to beat you and counterpunch you. And just come on, keep coming. And
sure.
then while you're weak and tired, He beats the hell out of you, and there's nothing you do about it. It's just like Craig says you ask them questions, you get all their pain, and you shoot them with the shotgun shells they filled, and there ain't a damn thing they can do about it. I like that.
The challenge is to get him to make a decision in your way, right? One of the guys here online said, "Hey, I don't have the patience for HR." Well, it's like fishing, isn't it? And so that brings up another point we brought up, right? There's fishing and there's catching. And you got to remember the goal when you go out is to catch fish. And so it can be an enjoyable day and you can enjoy the scenery and the quiet and the solitude and just, thinking about whatever you think about while you're fishing. But it's a lot better if you catch fish, just like it's a lot better if you get a engagement of some sort, a fee, a broker record, agent of record, whatever it is. And so if you're not, then you have to look in the mirror and say, hey, how can I be better? How can I do better? Because most of the time, the problem's staring at you in the mirror. It's not outside of you. And so you just have to be honest and say, hey, how can I get better at talking to HR people? How can I get better at talking to controllers, finance, CFOs, et cetera? And that's what you got to do. And so if you want to talk to, some of the guys are like, I like 50 to 250. I like 50 plus. Everybody's got a different market. So if that's where your fish are, then you need to figure out, like John talked about earlier, hey, what are you going to provide them? This mental masturbation on LinkedIn about we saved 4,000% and all blah, 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 blah. Okay, those are just to a CFO who naturally doesn't trust you and is skeptical because they don't know you, they don't work with you. That's just a naked assertion. It makes you look weak and desperate. That's my opinion. You can choose to do whatever you want, but naked assertions don't give you credibility. And so you got to figure out, I'm selling these groups. I have to target my message. Hey, Google will tell you what to say. If you don't know what to say to your target market, just do a Google search on your target market. Middle market CFOs, middle market CEOs, and look at the headlines of all the results from Google. It'll tell you what is popular and what is trending. Work backwards, reverse engineer. It's just like if you had a fishing guide. The fishing guide fishes this lake for years. They know the right time of the day. They know the right colors based on this season, based on whether it was a full moon anytime in the last week, because that influences how much the fish feed during the night, and during the day, you're going to catch shit. So, the guides know. So use Google as a guide to reverse engineer what is unique messaging that I can present that makes me sound different, that makes me sound better, that makes me understand like I understand their business, their fears, their uncertainties, their doubts, etc. And now you'll look different, you'll sound different, you'll be different.
Paul gave me a call today, got another consulting agreement.
It's great.
He calls up laughing. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, baby. We're fishing. Start using the right bait. Use the bait that's going to get them hooked and allow you to catch some fish, without having to sit out on the boat for hours trying to catch a fish. Because the broker record, hey, again, there's some dumb fish in the sea. Some people that want to divorce their wife, they're going to bite. But there's a lot that are not. And there's another way to catch them without using that. And there's another way to help them, too. The aim game not be the broker record. I don't want the broker record in most cases anymore. I just want to be able to help them do the consulting strategy, implement my solution, so on and so forth. So I'm using different bait. Whatever your bait is, you got to figure out what it is, what you're good at. And goddamn, if you're not practicing right now and getting good and getting ready, it's like Craig said, it's all about reps. And I would say, how are you so good? He's like, well, I just got more reps than you. Well, Craig gets more reps than anybody. He's getting 3 a day. Well, how many is that? 60 a month? Nobody here is getting 60 pitches a month like he is. That's why he's more effective. Paul's getting an unbelievable amount of pitches, helping advisors with his marketing system. So they're getting more reps. Paul says, Trojan Horse genius, many thanks. Hey, listen, take advantage of what you can. Figure out what it is that you guys are good at, or what message you're good conveying. Means some of you are better at talking to HR. Some of you are better at talking with finance. You just got to figure out what that is. Figure out how to butter that bread. What else we got, Craig, before we close it out?
Hey, man, I think we covered a lot. Yeah.
All right. Well,
Anybody got any stuff for us?
any last words? Go ahead and put them below.
Yeah.
If you haven't, go ahead, check out achievealliance.com. We're having a webinar about a week and a half, right? We're going to keep marketing to you. We're going to tell you what we do, how we help you win self-funded business and retain self-business by taking all the pressure off you, bringing you proven ideas, strategies, ways to sell, the marketing collateral, the PowerPoint templates over Zoom, the sales system over Zoom, the questions to ask, how to position it, bunch of resources, all the stuff that
How to renew it.
120 days in advance, talking about leverage trend, why the increase, what it is, how to put a presentation together for your renewals to first and foremost tell them what you did for them over the last 5 years before you ever get into an increase. Okay? I see people just sending out the rates. Remind them of the value you deliver and what you've done for them first and foremost. Then help them understand healthcare trend, leverage trend, and all those different things before you ever go into the change on the insurance premiums being stop loss, only being a third of the overall cost, things like that. We're going to help you with it, make that renewal easier for you, and we're going to keep helping. So check us out, chiefalliance.com. Craig, I'd mentioned your company name, but I don't think you need it anymore. You got enough calls, so I'm going to steal it all. Any last words, Craig?
Learn the difference between price and cost. Price is a one-time thing. Cost is a lifetime thing. If you can articulate your messaging so that when they tell you some inane objection, some red herring, well, it sounds kind of expensive compared to what? Right?
You know the price of everything, but the cost of nothing. That's what I hear. That's what I say when I see the admin credits or admin fees being so low.
Yeah, what's the cost? What's the cost when you've lost? You told me already you lost 5% on your last 3 renewals, right? That would be low, probably. You lost 5% on a $500,000 budget. That's 25,000 times 3. That's $75,000. Based on the 5,500, you paid $225,000 of advice to lose $75,000 of profits a company. And since you only make 10% profits, you paid somebody a couple $100,000 to lose, $750,000 in sales. Let me just ask you a question. I mean, it sounds silly, but I think it'll make my point. If I was a salesperson and I came in and I saved you a couple $100,000, which would be at 10%, $2 million, would that make me the number one salesperson here? Okay. So yes, is usually the answer, right? And so what would happen if I was a salesperson? I look like I sold stuff because there's new revenue coming in, but in fact, I gave away the margin. So we actually, we lose money on the sales that I generate. And so what would happen after, you paid 75 grand and you lost 25 grand? How long would I have a job? They'll never go past you. Oh, you'd be fired. Like, well, that's fascinating. So how's your health insurance broker keeping their job? Because they lost you.
Great way to end it. Close it out, guys. Thanks for joining us. Heads Up Advisor. Every Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern. No, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Facebook Live, YouTube Live. Check us out on the podcast. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one. Peace.
Catch you next week.